What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Andy. For those of you who haven't already been here, welcome to my channel. For those of you that have and who have been following me on this journey, you know that I'm in the jungles of Puerto Viejo, Costa Rica. This is the 4th week of my teacher training, or it's going to be the 4th week starting Sunday. Today's Friday. It's going to be the 4th week of my teacher training, which is our mystical science week, and my absolute favorite because I'm such a philosophy nerd. And I feel like I didn't really get a lot of philosophy in my first teacher training, so I'm so excited to just soak all of this beautiful knowledge in. We are also transitioning into our week of silence, which is insane to me because I am like such a talker. I love to just like talk. I love to get to know people and their stories, and I've loved getting to know the girls over the last few weeks. So it's going to be a little bit interesting. I wouldn't say challenging because I feel like I can do it. We've had a lot of silence here on this teacher training. For instance, after dinner we go into more lecture and then we go into a 45-minute sitting meditation, and from that period until after breakfast the next morning we are in silence. So we have about 12 hours in silence, and so it hasn't really been that challenging. I think it's going to be a little bit weird not being able to like talk during like lecture and stuff. Like we are so much so in silence that if we have questions during our lecture we have to legit write them out and give them to our teacher. So that's going to be a little bit interesting because I'm like the one that will raise my hand and ask a million questions during lecture. So that's also going to be a little bit interesting. But I did kind of want to talk a little bit about the silence because it's going to be really intense. Like we can't make eye contact. Like I said, we can't ask questions. And so it's really a time to just like tune inward and sit with myself. And although I'm so excited to do that, I feel like I've never had an experience like this. At first, when we found out day one that we were gonna have this week of silence, I was like, what? Like I was so like, what do you mean silence? Like that wasn't on the, you know, module list. I had no idea prior to coming here. So I was just like, okay, I don't know what to do. Do I just go home now? Like all of these questions were running through my head. But after some time and some contemplation in silence, when we do have to be silent during the weeks, I've just found so much serenity, and I've found so much willingness to dive deeper. And so I'm glad that they're doing this for week 4. My teacher training altogether is 5 weeks. So we have this week and next week, and then we're done, which I also can't believe, but it's fine. So yeah, I think that it's really good that they did it the 4th week because, you know, we've all gotten to know each other. We've all gotten to be very centered in each other's energy. And this is the first time where I'm in a group of girls where I feel completely safe. There's no petty drama. There's no cattiness towards each other. There's so much love, and it's so beautiful. And so being able to tune into my own energy over the next week and being able to just observe how much the mind wants to talk, you know, like how much we are conditioned to walk past somebody and at least acknowledge their existence, right? And so for the next 7 days, I won't be acknowledging people's existence. And so it's going to be very interesting to see how we are conditioned to even just speak, even just have the subtleties of please and thank you or bless you, you know? And so I'm curious. I'm very curious to see what comes about and what I take from this and what comes up for me. This is going to be a really big time to just go inward and to deal with some of the things that I haven't dealt with yet here. I came with a few intentions while I was here, and with those intentions, a lot of those things have kind of manifested. A lot of layers have began to peel back, but there are a few more layers that I feel like I've kind of been avoiding a little bit. And so I'm really hoping to just dive into those and start to peel those back. Because the more that I've been here, the more that I've just remembered that healing is truly in layers. Healing isn't this linear thing that we think it is, and we don't heal something or deal with something and then, or even process something and then it's done and then you don't have to think about it anymore. Like, no, healing is in layers. And so kind of further peeling back the layers of myself, peeling back what is it that keeps me stuck? What is it that keeps me suffering, right? Because as a yoga practitioner, the journey isn't necessarily to enlightenment. It is to self-realization. It is to realize what patterns of myself, what patterns of my mind, what karmas, what samskaras have I been telling myself that just simply aren't true. What is true for me? What is my pure essence? What is my pure energy? And that's what I'm hoping to kind of unveil over the next week. So I'm super excited. I kind of just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about it and what it entails. I won't be recording until the end of the silence, so I'll kind of tell you guys what I went through and what I've experienced. I thought that I would just kind of give you guys a glimpse as to what the upcoming week is holding for me. Again, super excited, super grateful, and I have to show you guys this view because the jungle is a magical place. I'm truly in love, even though my clothes have molded, even though there's freaking bugs everywhere. I'm so in love and so blessed, and I'm so humbled to just be here. So thank you guys for keeping up with that. I will check back in with you guys after my week of silence. So let's see what happens. Bye guys. Silence. 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 Ironically, there are really no words after coming out of silence. It's been a few days since we came out of silence, and I was going to make a video the day that I did, but that day was so overwhelming for me. So yeah, I'll kind of talk about that a little bit. The sounds. So yeah, 6 days of silence. The only time that we would speak was to Om at the beginning of every class, every lecture, meditation, and then to close the space with another Om, and to pray before dinner. We have a prayer that we say before dinner. And that was the only time I could talk. And the first few days, it was like my ego was resisting. And to just watch the mind and to see the conditioning that we have around social gathering and the conditioning that we have to say bless you, say I'm sorry, say thank you. Just these little casualties that we have adopted throughout just being in social interactions with people. It was very interesting to sit back and to watch that and to see where I did want to speak or see what I wanted to say in certain moments. It was very interesting to observe. Over the last few years, I've really been into observing my mind. I've really been curious as to what plays in the background, why it's playing, where it came from, what the root of my suffering was, what the root of my internal dialogue was. And in the Western world, we aren't really given the space to be able to really sit with that. We're always working, we're always going, there's social media, there's commercials, there's advertisements, there's news. There's so many different ways that we, oh my god, there's a dog. There's so many different ways that we distract ourselves from ourselves. And so, yes, I've been on this path of self-realization for the last few years now, and I didn't realize how much I still wasn't taking that full time to myself. Because of social contracts or because of, just these external things that I was seeking. On this path of self-realization, I've really realized that I was the root of my suffering, that my thoughts were the root of my suffering, the way that I believe, the way that I am conditioned to be, the ways that I just keep myself trapped, whether it be through traumas, whether it be through things that I've directly experienced, or just these things that I've held on to. And it's been really interesting to observe. I've been very curious as to how my mind worked for a few years now. I've been very curious as to what the root of my suffering was. I was curious about God. I was curious about so many things, and that led me onto like this spiritual path where I was reading all of these self-help books. I was reading like these spirituality books and just learning so much. And from the first book, I could tell that I had resonated with so much in the book. And at the time, I didn't really have a super solid relationship with God. And so to see some of those patterns kind of come up was very interesting for me, because I feel like before I left, I had really developed a relationship with God, but I didn't realize that I was still operating from this space of conditioning and this space of fear. And I think that we as millennials, I was reading some statistic a couple months ago, and it was talking about how millennials are like the generation that just doesn't believe in God, was essentially what this article was. And what I think the issue is that there was spiritual abuse in a lot of the churches that we grew up in and a lot of the religions that we practiced. And so yes, essentially we have kind of pushed the idea of God away, and the word God can be very triggering. Even just feel how it feels right now that I'm even saying the word God. And so for a long time I didn't talk about God on my social media in like a super sick context. And so I'm very much the type of person that unless I practice it and it's integrated and I'm like living from that space, it's not really something that's true for me. I realized a long time ago that everybody's kind of operating from their own perception, their own experiences through life, their own observances through life, their own conditioning, their own traumas, whatever it is. That's kind of what builds the human mind. And so with this, as you guys saw, some of my intention was to really sit with myself. And I did. And I really tapped into the seat of the observer and sitting back and watching my mind. You know, we're in a very beautiful environment. I'm surrounded by nature. I'm eating really healthy, conscious food, high vibe food. I'm in a permaculture farm where everything is just so consciously thought about. We don't use water in our toilets. We've got like I'll have to show you guys around the property in another video, and kind of explain a permaculture a little bit more. But I'm in a very beautiful place that I have the ability to sit back and to really watch my mind. And, you know, I kind of had a meditation practice before I left, but here I've really developed one. We meditate for 45 minutes every night. That's like the solid foundation of this program. And then the week of silence, 6 days, complete silence. And so much came up for me. So much came up for me. Just seeing where I wanted to talk to people, what I even wanted to say. And, you know, we couldn't ask questions in lecture. So if we had a question, we had to write it out and then give it to our teacher. And they really wanted us to tune in and see, is this a question that I really have? Is this just something that kind of came up? Because if you notice, sometimes we just want to ask because we want to know right there in the moment. But sometimes the question is either answered later, or maybe it's not really that important of a question. So to have to really sit and think about what it is that I wanted to communicate was very interesting for me, because I'm so used to just having that ability to communicate. And so the power of words really came into my mind after being in silence, which is why I was so overwhelmed the day that we came out of silence, because I saw how much energy it takes to just speak. And I could feel the energy literally just leaving my body as I was talking. And it was very overwhelming. On Saturdays, we get to go into town and we get to, you know, have Wi-Fi and make our phone calls or do whatever, because we don't have that here on the farm. And so even then, I slowly eased myself into it. I was texting people, and then I got on social media and I checked my emails, and then I started to make calls. And it became overwhelming very fast. I was then around a lot of people. We were in the town, and it's not like it's a super big town. Puerto Viejo is very laid back, very chill beach vibes. Like, everybody's walking around without shoes on. It's rainy season, so everybody's chilling hard. And, you know, we go to the farmer's market, which is something that I'm used to back home anyway, and it's a different crowd. It's just a different crowd. And so it was overwhelming kind of to have these social interactions and to be kind of thrown back into the social world. There's like mosquitoes everywhere. But anyway, it was very overwhelming, very fast. I noticed that I kind of got a headache towards the end of the day because it was just like so much. Like there was like a point where I was like, I'm ready to go back in silence. And I even went off kind of by myself for a little while, and I just took some time by the beach and, you know, did what I needed to do to take my energy back. But I didn't realize the importance of conserving your energy, which is actually one of the yamas of yoga. It's a practice of yoga, being able to consciously harness your energy, consciously not just spew energy everywhere all the time. And we in the Western world very much do that with just talking, or how are you, or we feel like we have these social contracts that we need to speak to this person. Are you okay today? How's it going? You know, this, that, the other. And we're constantly outside of ourselves. And so this past week was really a time that I tuned in, and we did a lot of ceremony. We learned a lot of yogic philosophy, and like I said, the only time that I was able to speak was when we were praying or before we meditated. And so to only be able to speak in those moments of union with God was so powerful. And yeah, it was just so powerful. I was also reading the Bhagavad Gita at the time, so I was just like learning another idea and another perception of God. And so I really tapped into, what is God to me? And why did I build barriers around God for so long? Why was I afraid to even say God on my social media? What was that? And what I realized is that I felt spiritually abused in church. And I felt spiritually abused in the way that I practiced my own unique understanding of God. And so that brought me to the question, you know, when I was in silence, is what is God to me? What does that mean? Why am I here? You know, the ancient philosopher's question, right? The yogi's quest. Why am I here? And we meditated a lot on who am I? Who am I? And asking yourself that question is interesting to see the labels and the things that come after that. Oh, I'm a yoga teacher. I'm a philosopher. I'm a student. I'm a server. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. And so to peel back those layers, I'm not a teacher. I'm not a student. I'm not a server. Who am I? It was so profound. It was so profound. Because I got to watch myself slowly unravel. It was like I was an onion, and I was just peeling back these layers and these layers and these layers until I got to who is God. And what does that mean to me? And what I have directly experienced was the vastness of God. I mean, I'm in the jungle. I'm seeing something new every single day that I didn't see before. I'm seeing a new plant. I'm seeing a new bug. I'm seeing a new leaf, a new flower. And it's blowing my mind, because I don't think we realize how structured we are in America and how structured everything is. You know, you walk into a building, you're constantly in a building, whether it be a coffee shop, your job, where you live. We're constantly in these four walls. And so to be around nature and to see the true patterns of life unravel has been so beautiful, and I'm so humbled. I'm so humbled by nature and its vastness, its beauty. And so I let go of trying to search for who is God, and I allowed what is to just be. And to me now, God is silence. God is now the tip of my inhale, the bottom of my exhale, the moments where I'm sitting in meditation and I feel so vast. And I really feel like this spirit inside of a body. And I really awakened to what it is that I'm here for and who I truly am. Because I feel like back home, I was comparing myself to who this person was, what this person was doing, how this person decided to live their life, what this person was putting on social media, instead of just really taking the time to tune in and find out who I was. And I think that when my ego was tripped out, when I first realized that we were going to be in silence, I think it was because it knew that that piece of me was going to die. And that's so, like, what the fuck? Right? Like, profound to say. But it's true. It's like when you have a realization like that, a piece of you literally dies off. And I had to really tap into my traumas. I had to really tap into my social conditioning, my conditioning with my parents, my conditioning from school, my conditioning from people around me. And I really had to tap into what was true for me and what it is that I actually believe in, what I'm actually here for. What I found is that God is not very separate from me. And it's funny because in church, I've always heard, you know, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. The Trinity, the Divine Trinity. And nobody could tell me how all of those were the same thing. And so when I started my journey, when I started my spiritual path, I started thinking, okay, then how am I separate from that? If it's Father, Son, Holy Spirit, right? If it's mind, body, soul, how is that separate from me? I'm a mind, I'm a body, and I've got a soul. So how am I separate from that? So I really sat with that. And I truly now see God in everything and in everyone. And, you know, am I still human? Am I still going to make mistakes and see this illusion of separateness from me and a pencil? Yeah. That's a little bit harder to see myself in, to see God in. But it's possible. And that's what this direct experience showed me. It really deepened my relationship with God. It really deepened my relationship with myself, my dharma, my purpose. And I just feel so good. And yeah, I feel like that's all I really want to say about that. It was really beautiful to see myself in the light that I saw myself, and to watch my mind and watch these patterns come up of judgment, of fear. You know, when we were doing ceremonies, sometimes it was weird for me because I grew up very religious, and so to be introduced to gods and goddesses, it was very interesting. And so I asked the question, why do we worship these gods and goddesses? You know, if there's one God, what is this for? And what I've learned is that these are just different archetypes. They could even just be stories if you want them to be. And they're just the different faces that God wears. And so it's like modern day, right? Life could be a religion. I'm an expression of God. She's an expression of God. He's an expression of God. But we all have our own path to remembering that. And it's like this game. It's like we come here, our souls come here in these bodies. This is like our vehicle. And we forget that we're a piece of God, that we're an extension of God. So maybe the goal is to remember. I heard something this week that really resonated with me, and it was this idea that the old monks, the old enlightened beings, the old rishis, the meditators, these yogic people, their goal was to transcend the mind. And then they started seeing that God was real. They transcended the mind, and they were able to come back and say, God is real. I saw him in a meditation. So him or her, you know, whatever you believe. I saw it in a meditation. And now, in this age, in this life, in this experience, what we're really here to do is to remember that we are a piece of that. And the goal of meditation isn't to transcend the mind anymore. It is to be fully present in this physical body. It is to fully be able to experience this touch on my shoulder. How present can I be with this touch? How present can I be with rain dripping down onto my body? How can I be present with this next breath? That's the ultimate gift that we could give ourselves, is being present right here and right now and in this moment. And that's what I wanted to share with you guys. That's what I've learned. And I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful for my time in silence. Even now, talking about it, it does no justice for the experience that I had. There are literally no words to describe this past week. But I'm so, so, so thankful for it. And I'm excited to be home and to share some of these teachings with my friends and it's just really beautiful to remember that everything is just one, that everybody is just having their own experience, and that's it, you know? Yeah, I just got to observe some very interesting patterns, and seeing my own judgment, seeing my own fears, seeing some of my old traumas just come back up. It really reminded me that healing is not linear. It's not something that happens like you just get over it and it's done. It's this circular thing. It's like the onion. It's like the peeling back the layers and truly healing, truly getting to the root of what that is. Yes, this traumatic thing happened to me. Yes, I was, verbally abused in my relationships. And yes, I was verbally abused when I was growing up. And yes, I verbally abused myself. It always comes back to the self. And so this week really made me take radical responsibility for where I'm at and where my mind is and what I believe. And I'm just thankful. I'm super thankful. I'm excited to kind of speak more on this with you guys and really just integrate some of the things that I learned about myself and share a little bit more with you guys. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I would love to reintroduce myself because I feel like a completely new person, and yeah, I feel like she deserves a reintroduction. So what's up, guys? I'm Andy. Welcome to my channel. Shit's about to get real, and we're about to get so deep on this channel, and I'm so excited to just be this person and to just fully share myself with you even more. So thank you to anybody that's watching this video. I love you, love you, love you. I love me and I love life, and I'm just so freaking happy. If you want to see more of my videos, hit that little subscribe button, maybe get notifications if you want to get notified anytime that I do upload a video. We are on the path, man. We are hitting this self-realization train, and I'm taking anybody who's down to come aboard. So join the club. Let's do this together. Let's empower each other, because I've never been around a group of women who are so freaking beautiful in their truth and in their silence and in their struggle, and I've never felt so connected, and I've never wanted to keep this feeling of sisterhood so strong in my environment when I get back. And yeah, man, it's the age of the divine feminine. We are freaking here, boys. Let's do this. I'm so excited. I love you guys. I love you, love you, love you. Bye, guys.